Well, good morning. For most of us, it's a chilly morning, but we sure are glad you're here. Welcome to Writers Chat, where we talk about writing by writers and for writers. We are glad you're here, and today we're going to have some fun as all of our guests are welcome to stay and interact with us. And with that, I'm going to introduce my co-host, which, by the way, I'm Norma Poor. My co-host is Melissa Stroh, and I'm going to turn it over to her to introduce our guest speaker, Melissa.
All right. Well, thank you, Norma, and welcome everybody. We're glad that you're here to join us for another fun Come Write With Us episode. If you're not familiar with our Come Write With Us episodes, it's where we kind of sit down together and do some fun writing exercises, kind of flex our writing muscles and just enjoy time brainstorming and learning together. So with that, today we have one of our very own, our special friend, Rachel M. Colby, who's going to be leading us in the Come Write With Us today. And she's going to be talking about becoming a noticer. So this one's going to be fun. For those of you who don't know Rachel, I'll give you a little bit about her. Rachel M. Colby has a heart for reconciliation and a passion to uplift those who serve in tough places. She writes to connect cultures' questions with Christianity's answers, inspire faith, and motivate. This Jamaican-born multi-genre award-winning writer, wife, and mom resides in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, runs on coffee and chocolate, and blogs at tattooedonherheart.com. She's also known for saying she runs on a whole lot of Jesus, which I think is one of her fun catchphrases. So I'm glad you're here leading us today, Rachel, and we're excited to get going in these exercises.
Yes, definitely a whole lot of Jesus. Nothing different about that today. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. Okay, today I'm going to be reading a bit to you, and then you'll get a chance to write a few words according to what the prompts are. And so thank you for coming. So I'm just going to start with the intro that was in the promo. Noticing is important. God is in the details. We're often in such a hurry to get where we're going that we miss where we are. Sometimes the extraordinary lies in the ordinary. We must be careful not to miss the little things. Sometimes they hold the greatest treasures. So today we're going to explore how to better influence readers with our message and immerse them in our settings. There's power in the pause when we take time to notice our surroundings, ponder our characters and settings, and involve the creator in our creations. When I homeschooled my two youngest kids, I hosted an art class. One day, I asked the kids, I said, hey, look outside of that pile of logs. Tell me what color they are. And they all responded like brown or gray. And I went, really? Look again. Well, when they took the time to notice, they noticed colors like mustard, Alzarian crimson, and lavender running through the logs. And so those kind of observations made their paintings much more interesting. Likewise, our writing. As pictures should tell stories, our words should paint pictures. But just a warning to beware that your stories, that you don't bring your stories to a halt with a deluge of description detached from action. Use description to serve your stories rather than stories as an excuse to show off your ability to write description. Speaking to myself here, okay? So a quote from Amy Lowell, I think this is from way back when, like 1929 or something. Amy Lowell, in her prose poetry piece titled Spring Day, does an amazing job showing ordinary things extraordinarily. Here's what she said. This couldn't get more ordinary of an event. The day is fresh washed and fair. There is a smell of tulips and narcissus in the air. The sunshine pours in at the bathroom window and bores through the water in the bathtub in lathes and planes of greenish white. Little spots of sunshine lie on the surface of the water and dance. Their reflections wobble deliciously over the ceiling. So, exercise number 1. Pick a room in your house or an ordinary object in your home, just an ordinary thing, and Think of that. Hold on to that thought for a minute, okay? I'm going to give you an couple examples. And the first thing I want you to do is to pick an ordinary thing in your house, or a room in your house, and I want you to describe it first plainly in the fewest words possible. So an example would be, for my house, is the silverware and bowl of apples are on the dining table. The soup is ready. All dressed up would be the old pine tables, weights dressed in silver, apples coddled in crystal. A pot of kale soup stands ready. Another ordinary thing, which is why it's so hot in my office right now, but praise God. A kettle filled with spices sits on top of the wood stove that has a fire going in it. That's just plain simple telling. All dressed up, amber flames do their lazy dance in the black belly of the wood stove. Ginger, cinnamon, and orange waft from the speckled kettle atop. And by the way, those lines are from my piece titled Procrastination. That's exactly what I was doing when I wrote that. Okay, so your turn. Pick a place in your home or on your property and write what's there plainly in the fewest words possible. Now write a couple sentences to show it to us in an immersive sensory way. Dress it up. Go.
I have to interject here because I did not get the cue to start a timer. um, do we want to
Time.
call it good?
Good. Is anybody ready, or do you want to give them 2 minutes? Or oh, Catherine's ready.
We've got some already. I know I've got one too. Oh,
All right.
I'm a little hurried. So,
Well,
do you want to
go
share,
ahead.
Catherine?
Sure. My first one was my husband is working at the table.
Okay.
I decorated it. None of your business. Turn around. My husband slumps over his laptop at a table still decorated for Christmas that taunts me into adding one more thing to my to-do list, mumbling incoherently about things that don't matter but that distract me from the focus I need to actually get that to-do list done.
I love it. That's awesome.
Cal, your husband, thanks for being the victim. I mean the subject.
Oh, he knows he's the victim. Y'all should see some of my other writings.
I'm so glad I can still inspire you.
Go ahead,
He
Pam.
says he's so glad that he can still inspire me.
I picked my clean stove. In the kitchen has a spoon rest and a Corelle teapot on the top. So dressed up. The light over the kitchen sink reflects off the shiny surface of the stove, where a full teapot waits to warm up my friends at lunch.
Oh, I like how you did that last line.
I
That
do
little
too.
twist. Anybody else? Jay?
It's the large flat screen TV.
Okay.
And then the fancy way is it's too big, really, and more like a black hole than a thing of the arts or entertainment. It sits there showing its best face, which is off.
I love it. That's
True.
awesome.
Wow.
Oh,
Anybody
Jocelyn
else?
posted one in the chat. Here, I can read hers.
Okay.
So her plain description was a table used for a game, but currently full of books and 2 foam boards full of puzzle. Her description was, oops, I got 2 different comments in here. I guess that was all of hers right there. A pool table. Haha. Okay. David shared one. My daughter's bedroom walls are painted orange. And then his description was the walls coated in vivid orange matches the triplet bearer's love of life and outgoing personality.
Very good.
I can share if you want me to, Rhonda.
Go
We'd
for
love
it.
you
I'll
to.
stay off camera if that's okay.
Of course.
Sure.
The short sentence, my coffee maker sat beneath the shelves of my coffee bar. And the more elaborate sentence, tendrils of steam ascend from the coffee maker, leaving a sheen of moisture on the collection of writers' coffee mugs arranged on the shelves above.
That one's really good.
I could share. This is Kathy.
Thank you, Rhonda. Amazing.
Go ahead, Kathy.
So my plane was a cluttered office full of books, papers, crafts, and stuff. My decorated was, I sit in my office amid the evidence of a curious mind that peruses the many books, papers strewn across the floor, getting organized for our upcoming move, multiple crafts that attest to my creator's heart, and stuff, lots of stuff of a busy life.
Well done. Nancy, the prompt was to pick an ordinary thing in your home and describe it in the fewest plain words and then dress it up. But we're going to head on over to the next one. But before I do that, tame example of a little bit of action in description and ordinary things is the old ringer washing machines, twin rollers squeezed water out of the clothes and spat them into the galvanized bucket below. Other one would be bright yellow canaries flitted along the rim of the breadcrumb-filled terracotta saucer, cotched between the low branches of the mango tree. Their morning melody drifted into the breakfast room. Anyway. Okay, exercise 2, an experience. An overseasoned food is hard to swallow. However, a bland meal holds little appeal. Likewise with our writing. Don't merely tell the reader what's happening, take them there. Example, this is from Windsong, Childhood Experience, and incorporates touch and sound. Percale sheets, starched and ironed, crisp and cool, caressed my skin on hot summer nights, and the wind in the trees sang me to sleep. Another one, this is not childhood, this is relatively recent. Morning mist winds through windows hung wide over the blue mountains on Alex Twyman's old tavern estate. I sit and savor the freshly roasted brewed Jamaican coffee. Coffee so fine, I drink it black. Your turn. Write a few sentences to create an immersive, vivid, sensory, emotive, cinematic experience for your writers. Now that's a mouthful. Melissa, set the timer.
Okay, and we'll give you about 3 minutes, would you say, for this exercise?
Could
Sure.
you post the prompt in
Yes.
the chat?
Okay.
Yes, I can do that. And I'm going to pause the recording for those who are watching the replay. So at this point, you can also pause your video and then resume it after your timer has gone off for 3 minutes. And then we'll go from there. So for those here, I'm going to pause real quick and then we will get the timer going and get that prompt in the chat for you. Everyone, we're back. The timer is up and we have some fun sentences in the queue waiting. It looks like Catherine's the first one to get her hand up, so I will let her share her example first. Just as a reminder for those who don't know, the prompt was to write about a special memory or event from your past, an experience. So take it away, Catherine.
The thumping noise distinctly brought to mind the beating of a heart. But who would have buried a heart beneath my front porch? My husband bravely thrust his 6-month pregnant wife into the path of the sound. You won't believe it, was all the comfort he offered. What had buried the heart? A possum. Only it wasn't a heart, it was the possum, seeking refuge under our stairs from the dogs and using the thumping noise as a warning. And it wasn't a possum, it was an armadillo. I'm fixing to be corrected.
That
Your
was
husband
great.
does inspire you, doesn't he? Oh,
Y'all, people used to ask me, where do you get your ideas for your stories? And I'd be like, are you kidding me? One day. All you need is one day in my house.
Sounds like a great place to be and get some good stories. I was engaged from the start. Go
anybody
ahead.
else?
Yeah, go ahead, Pam.
So I didn't write something for this, but I brought up something I wrote about a childhood memory um, at my dad's funeral because was the first thing that popped in. So one night my mom gave me a paper grocery bag and said to fill it with whatever I wanted to take with me. We were leaving. I obeyed, still not understanding, but knowing something was dreadfully wrong. My dad came home just in time to prevent our walking out the door. I don't remember what was said. I only remember lying on my dad's chest as he laid on the bed and crying. When I told my dad, the doctor said his prognosis was a few days to just a couple weeks. I burst into tears and cried out, "Daddy," and he put out his arms and held me, and I bawled on his chest, feeling just like I did when I was that little girl.
Mm.
Just, it's such a strong memory that, and what I didn't share, at the funeral too, was like the other sensory things that come in. I remember the smell of the sour alcohol, of the beer, my dad's breath. I remember the feel of his chest hair on my face. I was 5, and 5 or 6, I can't remember, but I remember that. And of course, in the hospital, he didn't have the smell of alcohol. He had on, it wasn't a bare chest or anything, but it was the same emotion. It took me right back to that 5-year-old little girl not wanting her daddy to leave. And like, this is what this is for, right, Rachel, to capture that. How do we bring our readers along with us on that? Because if you haven't experienced it, anyway, that was the first thing I thought of when you said childhood memory.
Yeah.
That's a very strong one. Go ahead, Rachel.
No, I'm okay. I'm just typing the third exercise into the chat so it's ready.
Okay.
I can
Jocelyn.
share.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Rhonda.
And then I'm going to have to check out to get to my doctor's appointment. Today, evidently, is the day for all of us to run to the doctor. Here's my sentences. Dust swirled in brownish clouds, stirred by the hooves of the hog that followed us as we walked the unpaved streets of Vistia de Sus, the quaint Romanian town nestled in the foothills of the Carpathian Mountains. Was this the village where my husband's grandfather was born?
Wow.
Awesome. From your trip, right?
Yeah, from our trip to adopt our daughter. And we did not know where my husband's grandfather was born. And it turned out to be in this village where we were walking door to door asking if anybody knew Dragomir's. And a hog, a probably 400-pound hog, followed us to every door. And I just don't think I'll ever forget that. I've never been followed by a hog. So,
That's amazing.
and it
Thank you,
was the village where
Rhonda.
he was born. It was pretty much a miracle. But I am writing that whole experience in a memoir. So
Awesome. We look forward to that. Well, God bless you and God guide your physicians today.
thank you. Thank you.
Speedy healing. All right. Welcome, Ben Cooper. Okay. Anybody else? Or are we on to exercise 3?
I think we have some posts in the chat if you want me to read some of those.
Okay.
So Jocelyn's post was, as 2 children waded through the snow as they walk around the house to the wooden gate that led to the backyard, one pushing a float shovel in front with a smaller, oops, text shifted on me, in front with a smaller child sitting in it. The other child carried a set of red plastic flimsy skis. The gate clicked behind the 3 and the smaller child scrambled out of the float and went to the other side of the fence in the yard, while the boy with the skis prompted to the side, while the older boy with the float started moving in the snow in a pile. Oh. And the little small child was her. This was one of her first memories.
Okay. Awesome. Well done.
All right. Well,
So-
we probably better move on to the next prompt. So I will let you post that in the chat.
Okay. I want to put the prompt in so you can be thinking about it while I read the little intro, if you will. So backwards. Okay. Back, Rachel. Emotion, so Pam, you already did this. You cheated. To convey emotion in our readers, we must sometimes quiet ourselves and sit in our experiences, whether present or past, joyous or pain-filled. Powerful, gut-wrenching emotion is conveyed in this one sentence from the cover of Bloodline, a true story by John Turnipseed, written with best-selling author and ghostwriter Cecil Murphy, my mentor. Here is the line. You spend enough time in hell, you get the feeling you belong. Your turn, Melissa. Start the timer.
All right. And we're going to go for another 3 minutes. Is that the case?
It's only, I think I said 1 to 2 sentences on
2
that.
sentences? So
Let's
we'll go 2.
see how they can do as far as I mean, this is one powerful one sentence. It's not even a long sentence. And how much story and emotion is held in Mr. Turnipseed's story there.
Okay, we'll pause and give you guys a couple minutes to write your one powerful sentence. Here we go. Here we go. And we're back again with our special dynamic sentences and descriptions from our group. Who would like to share first? Got quite a few in the chat.
I'm always open to
Ooh.
sharing. Jay
Oh,
had his
Jay,
hand.
yeah, I saw Jay's hand. Go ahead.
I have 2. You want the one about the police or about this writing I'm not doing?
Well, you started off right with that police one, so you got me curious.
Okay. On the switchback roads we traveled from above the tree line were too much. Also the heavy dinner of kielbasa and kraut. The police never arrested me. They were too busy cleaning the car.
Always an adventure with you, Jay.
I don't do that anymore.
Well, you certainly do on the page.
The kielbasa or the police?
No, I'm good with the kielbasa.
As long as it stays where it's supposed to, right?
Right.
That's right.
Go ahead, Pam.
So I tried to keep it to one sentence because I heard you say one sentence, but I'll set up the one sentences. When I got pregnant with my daughter Mary, I was devastated because, we weren't planning her and I already had a sick baby and I was terrified that I would have another sick baby and that I wouldn't love this baby because I didn't want it. So we were taking a nap on the bed and I rolled over. She was about 3 days old, rolled over and looked at her. And then I wrote, like an unexpected ocean wave hitting from behind, love for her hit me, took me down, and filled every part of my body. And That's her favorite story. She'll say, "Mommy, tell me." She's 32 now. "Mommy, tell me again how you fell in love with me."
Aw, that's awesome.
Yeah. That was hard to get one sentence, but yeah.
That was a
And
good
I'm
one.
going to tell you, you did not need the explanation. I mean, it's great that you put it in perspective, but I could tell that there was an immediate and it would work across anything, not just
Hmm.
daughter to mother. I mean, that would
Mhm.
be an amazing greeting card.
Right.
Huh. Yeah. It really,
Hmm.
but it was unexpected too. I still remember it like vividly. So 32 years ago. So
It's a good one. Well, we have a few sentences in the chat, so I can read some of those if you'd like. The first one is from Dennis. He wrote, "He treated me as if I was not sitting in the group, ignored, not invisible." Wow. That one really conveys a lot of emotion there, Dennis.
Yes, it
I think
does.
a lot of us can relate to that one. Ben's sentence, "Hearing an oncologist tell me I had a 35% chance of survival and then explaining the procedure used to remove the cancer within me." Wow. Yeah.
That would be a very intense day.
Catherine, did you post that
I'm
one or
glad you're with us.
the next
Um,
sentence afterwards?
I did. That's me.
Do you want to read that one out loud for us?
Sure, because you know nothing entertains him more than hear me talking about him. He leaned back and removed his glasses before returning to kiss me with the depth that assured me it would be my last frog.
That one's good.
I'm wishing I could hear the chatter in the background there. Ellen
He and I used
Baker?
to do a show called He Said She Said, and you can hear a lot of it in that show because we are like that 24/7.
Ellen Baker wrote, "Someone can read mine, walking past lines of people who are holding pieces of paper out, leading to a ramp tunnel, leading to an aircraft." She said, "First and only time on a flight, and I did it by my lonesome." Well done.
Yes.
And hopefully you'll you'll take the adventure again. All right. I'm going to go ahead and put 4 in the chat. And if anybody else wants to share, they can. But I'm going to go ahead and put the 4th prompt in the chat. Are we good?
I think so.
Okay. All right. For readers to care, they need more than information. To be effective, we must allow readers to know us and our characters. That requires vulnerability, I can't talk today, and making them come alive, three-dimensional rather than flat on the page. Have you noticed the sound of a loved one's laugh, or the way the light catches their hair, or watch a child skip in a sunbeam? Those little irritants and quirks in people sometimes become endearing memories. Ponder them. We can become noticers by taking time to ponder our characters. People watch at home, the store, restaurants, or from a sidewalk or park bench. Notice body language. Example, how does your character walk? Here's my example. This person was first introduced to Writer's Chat when I presented on the writer's journey, and it's about a bully in boarding school. The bully, name changed to protect the guilty. Tarina was square and squat. Frizzy hair the color of dirty oatmeal surrounded her round face that wore a permanent scowl. She walked like a Mack truck and glowered as she swung her shoulders toward me. Of course, you guys may choose to introduce a person to your readers in an endearing manner. Other things that you can do is listen to conversations. Does your character or the person's dialogue give information and let the reader know and understand them better? Do they have a melodious voice or a gravelly tone? So, opening line from my first article about civil rights activist and family friend Dr. James Spicer in the Oak Ridge newspaper, and the last article 3 years later when he died. Beneath Dr. Spicer's charming drawl and calm demeanor lay a steely resolve. And the last line, after he died, I still hear his voice like low rolling thunder before a summer rain. So your turn. In 3 sentences, describe the physical traits, personality, mood, intent, and actions of a person you know or have known, and a character from your book. Go, Melissa.
All right. And we'll give you a full 3 minutes for this one, because this will
Yeah.
be a good one. Give you a chance to think. So
Right.
pausing now, and we'll start after 3 minutes are up. Welcome back again, everyone. Here we are, done with the next exercise. We've got some good descriptions, I think, coming in for those who want to share live. I see Pam's hand up, so go ahead.
Okay. 3 sentences. The kind of long ones, but Jim purposed to prove to his doctor wheelchairs were bad, but all he could find on the internet were articles on 5K wheelchair races. Never one to shrink from hard things, Jim asked the rehab nurse if that could be something he could do. He started training the next day, and 7 years later, still competes for the Spina Bifida Association.
Wow,
That's one of my best friends.
that's awesome.
Very good. We have some more in the chat, Melissa.
Okay, the first one, it looks like from Dennis. A friend first, then a minister. He desired for everyone to be spiritually free. He asked me to cease praying for him because he disagreed concerning an aspect of my deep faith. Wow, that one really brings up some conflicting emotions, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Nancy shared. Shirley Underwood held court in her happily cluttered sitting room, reminiscing about memorable cases during her 4 decades as a juvenile court judge. Her deep brown eyes shifted between humor and sadness as she recalled the case of a young boy who was deeply in trouble and how she had sentenced his dad to take him fishing. That one's great. That's like got so much more story there.
It's very vivid. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
definitely taking you there. See, Leslie. Emerson escaped to her bedroom to read. Her long auburn hair cascaded on her shoulders as her light brown eyes glowed from the sun, shining through the window. Taking a couple deep breaths and turning on her transistor radio to slow instrumental jazz, she picked up her devotional to delve into the peace and hope she needed. Noises in the house tried to pull her from the moment, but she would not move. Good.
Good one.
Yes. Relate to the struggle.
Stephen posted one after that. The old farmer hobbled on knees, bowed from countless crouches from milking cows for decades. Retrieving a pitchfork from the shed, he headed across the road to find the cows, escape from the pasture. His wife gently led him back, knowing the cows were due to dementia. Wow.
Wow. Oh my. Wow.
Jocelyn posted one. As he lay in his assigned bed, he rolled over and in an angry, tired tone, I want to be alone, leave. Pulling the quilt that was gifted to him, there was silence. In a stern tone, he said, please. The chair screeched as though it had been pushed back. The weight from the book on the bed disappeared. There was no sound except for the footsteps walking away, leaving. He closed his eyes, being tired, but sleep didn't come. That one gets your curiosity going, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
I have one.
Okay, go for it.
I tend to be a little lighter than the rest of y'all.
That's good. Light's good too.
She moved around the trail in a curious manner, stopping every few minutes to point or gesture. It took a moment to realize she was singing and dancing, despite the sprinkle of rain trying to dampen her journey. No one watching would doubt that hope led her way.
Aw, I love it. That's awesome.
My husband caught me walking one day.
Okay, I'm putting number 5 in the chat. Noticing is a way to love God and others. Sometimes I need to close my eyes so I can see clearly, to listen and soak in the little nuances. When is the last time you listened to the rustle of little critters in tall grasses at night? Do you know the sound of water is entirely different when you're sitting atop a jetty versus at the base? It's like music down there. Perhaps you remember as a small child your excitement over sharing one of your creations with a loved one. Or if you have children and you bought or made them something, how excited you were for their reaction. What if they barely looked at your gift, just brushed it off? Sometimes we do that to God with his marvelous creation, which he made to glorify him and minister to us. Your turn. Noticing creation. In 1 to 2 sentences, write a vivid scene about God's great outdoors. And I'm going to go ahead, Melissa, timer.
All right. We'll give you
So,
another 3 minutes for this one.
Well, it's
Or-
1 to 2. It's 1 to 2 sentences. So
1 to 2 sentences.
So
Okay.
think 2 lines of poetry, 1 or 2 lines of poetry type of condensing of describing creation.
Okay. I will pause the recording and we'll resume after done. All right. We're ready for the next round. Now, does anybody want to read live before I read some that we have in the chat? It looks like we have several. So, okay. Pam, I see your hand. She's always rearing to go. Awesome.
Yeah, yep. Oh, Maddie, get down. This is something that actually happened. So I'm going to use it in a story someday because my husband had called. I got him trained. When he sees fairy rings, he calls me out before he mows the lawn. So come and see the fairy ring. So a ring of blackened mushrooms greeted me. I gasped, wondering who or what had attacked the fairies and if there were any left alive.
Ooh.
I'm telling you, I never saw a fairy ring like this. A whole circle of black mushrooms. They look like they've been burned. I got pictures and I'm like definitely going to use it. I don't know if that's the actual description of God's creation, but it is because there were these really cool black mushrooms, right? So is that what you were looking for, Rachel? Something like that? Didn't really describe it, did it? Except for they were black.
Well,
You
God
are the
created
author,
everything.
ma'am.
He created those black mushrooms too.
Oh,
So.
I would do more in a
But
story, but
you
you gave us.
created it. You described it more than you're thinking, Pam, because we could all see it destroyed.
Yeah.
Right.
It
Okay.
wasn't just you're not just describing a fairy ring. You're describing the aftermath of a battle.
Okay. Thanks.
Anybody else want to share live?
I can share mine. I wrote it. I put it in the chat, but I can read it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, let me find it. The mountain stream trickled over the mossy rocks, stacked like stairs going down the hill. One lone laurel stood boldly through the cracks of stone and sediment. A chipmunk scampered quickly under the wooded brush as an eastern bluebird flew to the next branch.
I like it.
Thank you.
Dennis wrote 2 acres of daffodils in bloom, an entry into the Easter season and praise. I really like that one. That's good. Gives you good chills.
Yes. Okay.
Nancy
Anybody
wrote,
else?
the flower colors were striking. Yellow goldenrods, blue asters and chicory, red spotted jewelweed, pink clover, purple thistles. God had dipped his paintbrush deep into his palette of brilliant hues and generously painted his artistry across the mountainside fields.
Beautiful.
Ben wrote, mimicking the call of mourning doves by blowing into my cupped hands, a curious listener flew into the tree right above me. I really like that one. That's vivid.
Okay.
Stephen wrote, cooling air, birds chirping, the 360-degree sunset sky of a total eclipse. Some really good ones here. Jocelyn wrote, pulling the toque a beanie down over the eyes as the clouds part to let the sun peek through, squinting to protect from the brightness that bounces off the snow, which seems never ending and built up over my head.
I hope you guys are going to continue working on these snippets you've written today.
Yeah. I wrote a very short little one that says, I stare at God's majestic skyscapes, how he paints the heavens from dawn to dusk.
Awesome.
Anyone
With
else?
your big skies out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plenty can't miss them out there where you live.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Oh.
I love them every day. It's always something new and beautiful to see.
I love
Well,
writing nature scenes in my stories because
Yeah.
it's just always so. I like to bring that into the setting anywhere I can so that people can feel like they're able to escape from the world a little bit.
I think it's interesting. One, that you said escape from the world, but two, that this is an exercise when it should be our reality. Um,
Yes.
we have moved to Huntsville, Alabama, which is the Rocket City. I mean, like literally, I drive past a rocket every time I go out. I
Mhm.
drive past the space shuttle. When we're coming home in the evenings, the sun sets behind a rocket, an actual rocket ship, not like a pretend. I mean, it's an actual rocket. And the other day, I asked my husband. I said, "Do people ever just not see it? Do they ever just lose the
Mhm.
awe and the wonder?" And he said, "Yes."
Yes.
Hmm.
Sadly,
And
yes.
I think the more we know God and the more we lean into God in our journey, the more we can't lose that wonder and that awe.
Right, right.
It's ingrained in us, and that's what I think we need to be sharing, is that wonder and that awe that comes from what people say is normal and ordinary.
absolutely.
Exactly. Awesome. And that's perfect tie-in with exercise 6 and 7. Look, there you go, Catherine. See?
You're great at this.
It's in the chat. Noticing God.
Go, Rachel.
Okay. Becoming a noticer can bring richness to life or relationships or writing in relationship with God. There you go, Catherine. Sometimes I'm so busy doing, I have little time for being in his presence and I miss God. Sometimes I fail to notice he's stopped and is calling me aside, and other times he's moved on and I'm lagging. There's power in the pause when we wait with our maker. The ability to create words that impact and minister to others will flow out of our time spent noticing the creator. Sometimes there's reckoning and healing in that noticing too. Excerpt from my article, Moonlight, Streetlights, and Stage Fright, which was a poetry workshop on Writer's Chat with Patricia Tiffany Morris. Writing poetry in particular, it seems, requires some stillness. Perhaps I'd write more if I practiced the art of stillness, of becoming a noticer, a listener for the whisper of my Lord. So your turn, Melissa, set the timer. And so 6 and 7, noticing God. We're often quick to make requests and slow to thank and praise God. Ponder him. Now write the opening line for a letter to God or a poem about him, expressing his majesty and goodness, your gratitude and love for him. And then your homework is to spend time this week noticing God and finish writing your letter or poem to him that you've written the opening line for.
Awesome. All right.
Go.
We will pause the recording, give you a few minutes for this one, and start up again. Hey everyone, we're back with our final examples of the final exercise for today's Come Write With Us. So we'll go ahead and open it up now for those who want to share live, and then I will read those that were posted in the chat. And if any of you shared in the chat and would like to read out loud, you are sure welcome to. Go ahead, Pam.
Okay. Dear God, oh, for 1,000 tongues to sing my great Redeemer's praise. This old hymn fills my mind and soul, and I echo the writer's sentiment when I think of your great love for me. If only I had better words than human language allows, I would write pages and pages of praise and thanks.
And
Makes me think of the passage in John, not enough ink to fill with all the praises, even if you were to use the sky as your parchment.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I wrote thank you and I stopped, but I knew Rachel would get on to me. So I continued writing. Thank you for opening my eyes to the blessings so I can choose your abundance. Thank you for helping me to let go of the things of this world, even what the world says is good, because it leaves my hands open for your good, which is exceedingly abundantly more than I can think or imagine. Thank you for growing my focus to the place where I don't notice the waves, no matter how hard they splash. Thank you for helping me to see you in the soaring eagle above the lake and in that single falling leaf that is held on to the tree well into the winter, but finally lets go. Help me to continue to let go of the worldly things that keep me from moving into my new season with you.
Really good. Anyone else want to read out loud? Okay. Seeing none, I shall move to the chat. Dennis wrote, Dear God, as Peter said, to whom would I go? Without your presence, I feel every moment I would not have been after becoming a teen. Glory to your name alone. That hits on a lot of different emotions. That's a good one. Leslie, would you like me to read yours or do you want to read it out loud?
Well, my husband's talking in the background, so I
Okay.
can try. I started out as a poem. I don't know, I guess maybe because Rachel said something about or poetry, and then it's just like, oh, poem. Okay. This is definitely not finished because I didn't even get to the thank you part. It was just the beginning. Father God, ever present at a moment's notice, great creator and overflowing love and peace, the one who made all and gives from unconditional love to all who seek him in darkest times and to share the most joyous parts of life.
Really good. That one's definitely worth continuing.
yeah,
Thank you.
it makes me so happy to hear you noticing how you notice God.
Thank you.
Stephen wrote countless thoughts, countless questions. The obvious come to mind like scattered flecks of golden sand. But how do I find the thoughts and questions that are deep in the mother lode and worth pursuing? Definitely. We ask those questions a lot.
Very
Always.
vivid and a good question.
Ooh, Jay wrote a haiku. I like haikus. Okay. Crazy to greet you from the brain and life you gave like a Russian doll. That's good. That's really good. Thank you for that. Well, oh, this has been really good. As always, you guys have such creative minds, and I love to see the different things that you put out here, the words, and I think it's such a great exercise to end on too. All glory to God and just the gifts that He's given each of us, and it's a blessing to see how much you guys notice too, and I think that really gives us a lot of good food for thought to go away from today. Rachel, do you have anything else that you would like to add before we close for the day?
Just thanks for attending and participating, and to those who watch the replay. And just thank you for sharing your heart and your beautiful words. It's been inspiring to me, and I pray that not only your homework, but all the others, little snippets that you started, that maybe you'll revisit them and finish them and then share them with us, please. So that's it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Rachel. This has been great. Thanks for facilitating this and getting us thinking on all these things. It's a good life lesson to apply as well as good practice for our writing. Join us next time Next week on Tuesday, we are going to have Patricia Tiffany Morris join us to talk about mind mapping mayhem. So you're going to learn about how to mind map or get some inspiration for different ways to mind map. And I think that's going to be pretty fun. We hope you will join us there. Thank you for being present with us today. For those who are watching the replay, thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us. And you can attend the live shows Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern on Zoom by joining our Writers Chat members Facebook group. And you know, feel free to get on there, answer the questions, and join in. It's a private group where we encourage one another and teach one another and lift each other up in our writing journeys. All the replays for those who are wanting to check out the wealth of information that we already have from past episodes can be found on our Writers Chat Show YouTube channel now. You can catch all the ones that have come up for 2025, plus a link to over 300 past episodes that have been shared there and on Serious Writers YouTube channel. So thanks again for joining us, everyone. And if you're here, stick around for the after party. We'll see you
Thanks
later.
for having me.
You bet. Thank you. Bye.
Keep
everyone.
noticing God.